Have you ever bought something you didn't really need just because it was on sale? Or maybe you've picked a pricier meal off a menu because it just felt like a better deal. We all make these strange, kind of illogical choices all the time, but it turns out there's a pattern to our madness. So today, we're going to dive into the work of Dan Ariely to figure out why we're all so predictably irrational.
You know, to really get where Ariely is coming from, you have to start with his story. When he was just a young man, a horrific accident completely turned his world upside down. For 3 long years, he was confined to a hospital, pretty much wrapped head to toe in bandages. And it was from that incredibly painful, unique perspective that he started this lifelong quest to understand why on earth we do the things we do.
I mean, can you imagine? With 70% of his body burned, he basically became an outsider looking in on human behavior. He watched everything, from his own weird motivations to the, frankly, bizarre logic of his nurses. They had this theory about removing bandages, that ripping them off fast was better. He knew from firsthand experience that it was dead wrong. And this whole painful ordeal sparked a burning curiosity. What are the hidden forces that are really driving our decisions?
And that, right there, brings us to the huge question at the heart of all his research. If we're supposed to be these smart, rational beings, why do we constantly make choices that go against our own best interests? This isn't just some fun mental quirk, you know? It affects our money, our health, our happiness, everything. So let's get into the answers he found.
Okay, so the first big idea is that our brains just don't think in absolute terms. We don't have some kind of built-in value meter that tells us what something is worth. Instead, we are constantly comparing, always. Think about it. Is a $100 bottle of wine expensive? Well, it depends, right? Is it sitting next to a $20 bottle or a $500 bottle? See? Everything is relative.
So check this out. This is a classic example from The Economist magazine. You've got 3 choices. An online-only subscription for $59, a print-only for $125, and a print and web subscription also for $125. Now, take a second. Which one would you pick? Yeah, most people go for option 3. But the real question is,
why is that middle one, the print-only subscription, even an option? No logical person would choose it when you can get both print and web for the exact same price. Well, guess what? It's not a mistake. It's a decoy. It is there for one reason and one reason only, to make that third option look like an unbelievably good deal.
And that, my friends, is the decoy effect in action. It's brilliant, really. By adding a clearly worse option right next to the one they want you to buy, marketers can steer you right where they want you. And this doesn't just work for magazines. It influences some of the biggest decisions we make in our lives.
For instance, let's say you're trying to choose between 2 houses. They're very different, but you like them both about the same. One is a sleek, modern contemporary, the other is a classic colonial. It's a really tough comparison, right? It's a hard decision to make.
but now watch what happens when a clever real estate agent introduces a third option, another colonial, pretty similar to the first one, but, oh yeah, it needs a brand new roof. All of a sudden, the choice is easy, isn't it? The original colonial now seems way better. Not just better than the one with the leaky roof, but somehow better than the modern house too. That little decoy just made the decision for you.
So this whole idea of comparison leads us to our next big concept, which is called anchoring. If all our decisions are relative, then the question is, what are they relative to? Well, a lot of the time, they're relative to the very first piece of information we get. That first number, that first experience, becomes an anchor that kind of drags all our future decisions along with it.
And oh man, there is no better story to illustrate this than the story of Salvador Assail. People called him the Pearl King, and he was stuck with a huge problem, a bunch of Tahitian black pearls that absolutely nobody wanted. They were basically seen as worthless. So how did he turn them into a multi-million-dollar luxury item?
Well, he didn't put them on sale. He did the exact opposite. He partnered up with the legendary jeweler Harry Winston, put the pearls in a fancy Fifth Avenue window right next to diamonds and rubies, and slapped an outrageously high price tag on them. That very first price became the anchor, and just like that, a worthless rock became a must-have symbol of luxury.
That is anchoring. Once that first price, that first piece of information is set in our minds, it shapes not only what we're willing to pay right now, but what we expect to pay for similar things for a long, long time. That first impression really does stick.
Ariely has this fantastic metaphor for this. He says we're like little goslings. You know how they imprint on the first thing they see and then just follow it around everywhere? We do the same thing with our decisions. Think about your daily coffee. Why do you pay $4 or $5 at one place when another shop sells it for $1? Because your very first fancy coffee experience anchored you to a certain price and a certain vibe, and you've basically just been following that first decision ever since.
So, what does this all mean? Are we just helpless puppets dangling from the strings of these hidden forces? Well, not necessarily. The good news is right there in the title. Our irrationality is predictable, and if you can predict something, you can start to learn how to outsmart it.
It really all starts with just being aware. By turning a critical eye on our own behavior, by actually stopping and thinking about the why behind our choices, we can start to live more intentionally. You know, when Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living, this is exactly the kind of stuff he was talking about.
So what can you actually do? Starting right now. Well, for one, start questioning your habits. Ask yourself, where did my daily coffee habit really come from? Was it a conscious choice? When you find yourself in a new situation, pay super close attention to that very first decision you make, because it's going to be an anchor. And always, always be on the lookout for those decoys trying to nudge you one way or another. Just being aware is half the battle.
And in the end, Irrational's work leaves us with this really challenging question to chew on. Are we anything more than the sum of our first, naive, kind of random behaviors? I mean, how much of your life, your career, your very identity is built on an anchor that you dropped years ago without even realizing it? The answer might just surprise you.